සුපිරි අධිවේගයක් පරදා ඔබ මවිත කරවන වේගයක් විඳ ගන්න. පියවර තුනකින් ශ්‍රී ලංකා ටෙලිකොම් ෆයිබර් ඔප්ටික් ජාලයට එක්වන්න. slp.lk වෙත පිවිසෙන්න.
Making headlines on First at 9. Corrupt free governance. President Maithripala tells the Open Government Partnership Forum in Georgia that he has managed to destroy the links between unlimited power and corruption. Maithripala to India. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe confirms that the government is in talks with India on a possible public-private partnership for the Maithripala Airport.
How we can have a similar PPP with the Indian company for the Maithripala Airport.
More formulas. State Minister of Finance Derana says that the government is ready for a discussion on a possible formula for gas prices.
We should have another formula for the price of gas. That's something that we could discuss.
Right to reply. Minister of Sustainable Development, Wildlife and Regional Development Field Marshal Sarath Fonseca replies to the allegations raised against him in Parliament and in the media.
Their private character and their background is anyway immaterial to me.
Slip of the tongue. US President Donald Trump says he slipped his tongue in a joint news conference in Helsinki and accidentally sided with Putin.
I said the word would instead of wouldn't.
A very good evening to you and welcome to First at 9. I'm Katharina Chang. On your top story tonight, President Maithripala says that during the last 3 years, his government was able to destroy the links between unlimited power and corruption. The head of state expressed these views at the Open Government Partnership Global Summit in Georgia today. The global session of the Open Government Partnership, chaired by Georgian Prime Minister Mamuka Baghdadze, with the participation of presidents, prime ministers, speakers, ministers and other representatives from 75 member countries, got underway today. The coalition is a mechanism formed to enhance transparency and accountability to the public and people's participation in governance.
විවෘත රාජ්‍ය හවුල්කාරීත්වය පිළිබඳව කතා කිරීමේදී මූලික වශයෙන්ම දූෂණය, වංචාව, නාස්තිය, හොරකම මේ මුලින් උපුටා දැමීම සඳහා කළ යුතු කාර්යයන්හි ප්‍රධාන දේ තමයි බලය සහ දූෂණය අතරේ තියෙන සම්බන්ධතාවය වෙන් කිරීම. තමා සතු පෞද්ගලික බලය හැකිතරම් අවම කිරීමත් බලය සාමූහිකත්වයට බාර දීමත් ඉතාමත් වැදගත් වෙනවා. මම ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ ජනාධිපතිවරයා වන අවස්ථාවේ ලෝකේ රාජ්‍ය නායකයින්ට තිබුණු බලතල තුල ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ රාජ්‍ය නායකයාට තිබුණේ ලෝකයේ කිසිම රටක රාජ්‍ය නායකයෙකුට නොමැති අසීමිත විධායක බලයක් තිබුණේ. ඒ අසීමිත විධායක බලය සමග තමයි දූෂණය ගමන් කරන්නේ. ඒ නිසා මම මුලින්ම කරේ ජනාධිපති ධූරයට පත් වෙලා පළවෙනි මාස 6 තුල විධායක ජනාධිපතිවරයා සතුව තිබූ අසීමිත විධායක බලය මගෙන් ඉවත් කරලා පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට ලබා දීමයි මම කළේ. ඒ තුලේ සියලු කොමිසම් සභා ස්වාධීන වෙලා තිබෙනවා. මගේ රටේ අධිකරණය දේශපාලන බලපෑම් තුල බරපතල ලෙස දූෂිත වෙලා තිබුණේ, ගුණාත්මක භාවයෙන් ප්‍රමිතියෙන් පහළ වැටලා තිබුණේ. අද අධිකරණ ශේෂ්ත්‍රයට කිසිදු දේශපාලඥයෙකුට අත ගහන්න බැරි ආකාරයට අධිකරණය ශක්තිමත් කරලා තිබෙනවා.
Students of the South Eastern University of Sri Lanka engaged in a protest in Colombo today, accusing the university administration of taking violent measures against students who voiced their opinion on issues within the institution. After a botched attempt to meet the Minister of Higher Education, the students are now engaging in a hunger strike at the Lipton roundabout. This mobile phone footage circulating on social media shows security officials of the South Eastern University entering into student dormitories in search of students who have been barred from attending classes. This drew criticism by various quarters as it showed how administrative and security officers were seen carrying poles while entering into the dormitory. Yesterday, the particular footage became a subject of interest at the Parliament as well. It was in this backdrop that Students' Union of the South Eastern University engaged in a protest in Colombo today. Protesters demanded the government to ensure freedom of students within state universities. During the protest, students attempted to march into the Ministry of Higher Education and Cultural Affairs, but they were stopped by the police. Meanwhile, convener of the Inter-University Students' Federation, Lahiru Weerasekara, and several other student representatives requested the police that they be allowed to go to the ministry to discuss the issues. Although the police informed that a group will be allowed to meet with an additional secretary of the ministry, student representatives refused the offer, demanding for a meeting with the subject minister. Later, protesters commenced a hunger strike at the Lipton roundabout, demanding for immediate solutions for issues faced by students of the South Eastern University. A party leaders meeting will be held on Friday to discuss matters regarding the upcoming provincial council election. Speaker Karu Jayasuriya revealed of the meeting, responding to a question raised by parliamentarian Dinesh Gunawardena today.
පාර්ලිමේන්තුව හමුවට පළාත් සභා ඡන්ද විමසීම සංශෝධන පනත ඉදිරිපත් කළා. මේ පනතට ශ්‍රේෂ්ඨාධිකරණය තීරණයක් දුන්නා. ඒ තීරණය පැහැදිලිව කියනවා it was sought to insert article 155DD. However, the Supreme Court held that the bill is required to be passed by a two-thirds of the whole number of members of parliament and be approved by a referendum by the people because it violates article 1, 2, 3, 4, 12, 1, 75 and 83 and chapter 11. The learned Solicitor General tabled a letter dated 2nd October 2017 addressed to the Attorney General by the Leader of the House of Parliament. මේ ශ්‍රේෂ්ඨාධිකරණයේ නඩු තීන්දුවේ මෙහි නියෝග කරා පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට ඡන්දය කල්දැමිය හැකි වන්නේ තුනෙන් දෙකකින් ගන්න තීරණයක් අනුව හා ලංකාවේ පවත්වන ජනමත විචාරණයකින් පමණයි කියන. Now this is an order of the Supreme Court where the bench was chaired by the Chief Justice of the country. මම අහන්නේ අද ඡන්දය නොතියා ඉන්න බලයක් ආණ්ඩුවට හෝ මැතිවරණ කොමිසමට ලැබෙන්නේ කොහොමද? ශ්‍රේෂ්ඨාධිකරණයේ විසින් ප්‍රකාශ කරන ලද තීන්දුව is binding on all to implement. I am just seeking an interpretation from you. Does it lead to contempt of the Supreme Court?
Okay, we'll all check on that.
That is what I am raising.
දැන් මේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් කිසිම පක්ෂ නායකයෙක් මට කියලා නැහැ ඡන්ද කල් දාන්න ඕනේ කියලා. ඒ නිසා තමයි අපි අනිද්දාට ඔක්කොම පක්ෂ නායකයෝ රැස් වෙන කරලා කොහොමද ඡන්දේ තියන්නේ කොයි ක්‍රමයකට දාන්න කියලා සාකච්ඡා කරන්න. ඉතින් ඒ නිසා මම හිතන්නේ චෝදනා කරන එක් පක්ෂයකට ඡන්ද කල් දාන්න ඕනේ කියලා මම හිතන්නේ ඒක මේ වගේ අපි සිකුරාදාට සාකච්ඡා.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe confirms that the government is in talks with India on a possible public-private partnership for the country's second international airport in Muttiah. The Premier also said that the government is in the process of expediting the construction work on the Central Expressway in the extension of the Southern Highway to Hambantota and the development of the Trincomalee city.
Now we are taking the great leap of becoming the hub. What we are doing now is the first important step, developing a total infrastructure. We have the Colombo port, the Katunayak airport. Our question was how to make a success of the Hambantota port. The Honourable Minister was with me in the delegation that went to China. We had a hard negotiation. We had debts to pay, but finally we got the public-private partnership between China merchants and our port and $1 billion to reduce our debts. Now the Honourable Minister is negotiating with India, looking at how we can have a similar PPP with the Indian company for the Maithripala airport. We found the money to pay for the extension which had been planned from Maithripala to Hambantota. But we didn't stop there. We took another important step, that we'll find the money and build the Central Expressway. So you have connectivity from Kandy to Hambantota. While we are doing this, ADB did another study, the East-West corridor, of how we go on to the eastern side. A road that will go up after the Central Expressway, we go all the way up to Trincomalee. The Minister of Civil Aviation has now opened the internal airports, and I think offers have been received for internal airlines.
Meanwhile, the parliamentarians representing the joint opposition met the Minister of Transport and Civil Aviation, Maithripala de Silva, to discuss about the Maithripala International Airport agreement. Following the meeting, the joint opposition parliamentarians spoke to media and said that the government's decision to sell the airport to India will not change. A group of parliamentarians representing the joint opposition met the Minister of Transport and Civil Aviation, Maithripala de Silva, to discuss the decision of the government to go for a joint venture with an Indian company to manage the Maithripala International Airport. Following the meeting, the representatives expressed views to media.
තල ගුවන් තොටුපොළ විකිණීමට ඉන්දියානු සමාගමක් එක්ක හවුල් සමාගමක් හැටියට ගෙනීමට රජය දැන් සාකච්ඡා ආරම්භ කළා. තීරණයකට එළඹීමේ අවසාන අවස්ථාවට පැමිණ තිබෙන භයානක තත්ත්වය පිළිබඳ අපි කරුණු කිව්වා. එමෙතුමා මේ පිළිබඳ අපිත් එක්ක කරුණු සාකච්ඡා කරාට ආණ්ඩුවේ තීරණය වෙනස් නොකරන මතය තමයි සිටින්නේ.
දැන් ඔබතුමාලා කැබිනට් මණ්ඩලයේ ඉන්දෙක්සිව තමයි හම්බන්තොට වරාය වික්කේ.
ඒ හම්බන්තොට වරායෙත් අපිට යම් යම් ගැටලු තිබුණු තැන් තිබුණා. නමුත් ඒක රජයේ තීන්දුවක්. ඒ කාලේ ඇත්ත අපි අමාත්‍ය මණ්ඩලයේ හිටියා. නමුත් අපි දැන් අමාත්‍ය මණ්ඩලයේ නැහැනේ.
මෙතන පැහැදිලිව පෙන්눔 කරලා තියෙන්නේ රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහත්මයාගේ පාර්ශ්වයෙන් තමයි මේකට වැඩිපුරම සම්බන්ධ වෙන්නේ. මේ ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ කළමනාකරන නොහැකියාව. දැන් ශ්‍රී ලංකන් එකට උනේත් ඕක. ශ්‍රී ලංකන් එකේ කලින් ආණ්ඩුවේ ඉඳහටන් ආයෝජන හැටියට අලුතෙන් ගුවන් යාන 5ක් පද්දර ගන්න 4ක් මිලදී ගන්න 2021 වෙනකොට. හැබැයි ගිවිසුම් අහෝසි කළා ඩොලර් මිලියන 98ක් ගෙව්වා ඒ සමාගම් වලට. ශ්‍රී ලංකන් එයාලයින් ඩොලර් මිලියන 98ක් කියන්නේ අපි 100ක් දල වශයෙන් ගත්තොත් අද දවසේ හැටියට බිලියන 16ක්. බිලියන 16 බිලියන 11ට වඩා වැඩි මහ බැංකු බැඳුම් කරේට වඩා. ඒතර දැන් කවුද ඒකට වග කියන්නේ? ඒකට වග කියන අයට උත්තර දෙන්න වෙයි මේ ආණ්ඩුව වෙනස් වෙච්ච දවසට. මේ රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මැතිතුමාගේ ප්‍රධානත්වයෙන් වෙච්ච CCM එකේ ගත්ත තීන්දුව නිසා තමයි ඩොලර් මිලියන 90ට ටර්මිනේෂන් ෆී එක ගෙවුවේ. ඉතින් හිතාමතා මත්තල ගුවන්තොටුපළ පාඩු ලබන තැනක් බවට පරිවර්තනය කළා.
The convener of the Patriotic Professionals Forum, Dr. Nalaka Godaheva, warns of a possible breach in security if the government proceeds with plans of handing over the Muttiah International Airport to India. Dr. Godaheva is of the view that by doing so, there could be a possible conflict of interest between India and China, as China is currently operating the Hambantota port. These views by Dr. Godaheva was made known during a special media briefing held in Colombo today.
Now the next grave crime that they are going to commit in few weeks' time is selling the Muttiah Airport to Indians. They may use the term 99-year lease, but in Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe's own words, he used the term selling. Why is selling Muttiah a crime? When Muttiah Airport was designed, it was designed to cater to 1 million passengers at full capacity. It can accommodate the largest airplanes in the world. But this government keeps saying that it is a waste, that it is a white elephant. We have to ask the question from the intelligent public of this country, why is China interested in Hambantota? Why is India interested in Muttiah if they are white elephants? It is because those countries know that they can turn around and they can make money and they can make the full use of these assets which our incompetent government doesn't know how to use. And there's another problem of giving away Muttiah. That is a security problem. On one side, you are having Chinese managing the Hambantota port, and then you are going to give the Muttiah Airport to Indians. Two superpowers who are against each other always. And what will be the situation in future if there's a war between these two countries? We saw Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe himself saying that there's a possibility of submarine war happening in future, and Sri Lankan Navy will have to face that.
Minister of Finance and Mass Media Mangla Samarveera yesterday appeared before the Presidential Commission of Inquiry to investigate allegations of fraud and corruption of Sri Lankan and the now defunct Mihin Lanka Airlines. Minister Mangla Samarveera, who held the post of Minister of Civil Aviation when Mihin Lanka was established, expressed views to media after his statement to the Presidential Commission of Inquiry to investigate allegations of fraud and corruption of Sri Lankan Airlines, Sri Lankan Catering Limited and Mihin Lanka Private Limited.
සමාගම ආරම්භ කරනකොට මමයි ගුවන් සේවා ඇමති හැටියට කටයුතු කළේ ඒ සම්බන්ධයෙන් ප්‍රකාශයක් ලබා දෙන්න යාවා.
ඇමතුමා දැන් මේ ඔබතුමා මීට පස්සෙත් කැඳවීමක් තියෙනවද?
නෑ.
The media unit of former President Mahinda Rajapakse is warning the public not to be misled by social media reports on the candidacy for President of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna. This was in response to a fake media release circulating on social media that stated that former President has selected former Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapakse as the presidential candidate of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna. Confirming it as a hoax, former Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapakse also made a statement today. The media unit of former President Mahinda Rajapakse in a statement says that a forged document purporting to be a media release by the former president is currently being circulated on social media. The statement announces that former President Mahinda Rajapakse has officially selected former Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapakse to be the presidential candidate of the Sri Lanka Polujana Peramuna. The media unit in its release says that the document is false and the data is inaccurate. The statement asserts that the former president has not yet named the next presidential candidate of the SLPP and it will be announced at a public gathering once the decision has been taken. Meanwhile, former President's Media Secretary Rohan Valivita arrived at the Fraud Investigation Bureau to lodge a complaint over the incident. However, his complaint was rejected. Meanwhile, former Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapakse, making a status update in his Facebook account, confirms that the information is inaccurate. He also adds that it is an attempt by certain parties to mislead and confuse the people and political stakeholders. The National Freedom Front alleges that the Minister of Sustainable Development, Wildlife and Regional Development, Field Marshal Sarath Fonseca, is providing protection to a group of individuals involved in drug racketeering. Meanwhile, MP Padma Udeshanta went on to confirm this allegation at a media briefing held in Colombo today. MP Vimal Veeravansa made a revelation in Parliament yesterday following a news report pertaining to political involvement in drug racketeering.
තරා ප්‍රවෘත්තියක් පළ කළ තියෙනවා. ඒ ප්‍රවෘත්තිය තමයි මෙරට තුල ක්‍රියාත්මක වන කේරළ ගංජා ඇතුළු මද්ද්‍රව්‍ය ජාවාරම පිටුපස සිටින ප්‍රබල ජාවාරකරුවන් පිරිසකට සහාය ලබා දෙන අමාත්‍යවරයෙකු පිළිබඳ තොරතුරු ලැබී තිබෙනවා. වාර්තා වන පරිදි අදාළ ජාවාරම් කරුවන් අත්අඩංගුවට පත් වූ අවස්ථාවේදී ඔවුන් මුදා හැරීමට පවා මෙම අමාත්‍යවරයා පොලිසියට බලපෑම් කර ඇතැයි සඳහන්. අරුණාත්නායක නොහොත් පොලිස් නමින් හඳුන්වන එවැනි එක් අයෙකු එම අමාත්‍යවරයාගේ ආරක්ෂක අංශයට සම්බන්ධව සිටින බවද වාර්තා වෙනවා. ඉකුත් 3 වෙනිදා කේරළ ගංජා සමග අත්අඩංගුවට පත් වූ ගිහාන් සඳරුවන් නැමැත්තා මුදා හැරීමට පෑලියගොඩ නීතිය බලගැන්වීමේ ඒකකයට අදාළ අමාත්‍යවරයා බලපෑම් කර ඇති බවයි පැවසෙන්නේ. කේරළ ගංජා ජාවාරමෙන් නිරත ප්‍රබලයින් ලෙස සැලකෙන පෑලියගොඩ ක්‍රිස්ටෝ සහ නයනිජිත්ට මෙම අමාත්‍යවරයාගේ උදව් උපකාර ලැබෙන බවද සඳහන්. මෙම ජාවාරම් කරුවන් සිව් දෙනා ප්‍රබල පාතාල ක්‍රියාකාරීකයෙකු ලෙස සැලකෙන මල්ලත්තේ මංජු නැමැත්තාගේ ගෝලයින් බවයි වාර්තා වන්නේ. කවුද මෙම අමාත්‍යවරයා? වෙන කවුරක් නෙවෙයි සරත් ෆොන්සේකා අමාත්‍යවරයා.
අද පත්තරේ තිබෙනවා ලංකාදීප පත්තරේ ඉදිරි පෙළම පාතාලේ 5 දෙනෙක් ඇමතිවරයෙකුගේ රැකවලුන් ලෙස ඉන්නවා කියලා පොලිසිය වාර්තා කරලා තිබෙනවා. ඒ සිත්තිය සත්‍ය නම් ඒ සම්බන්ධව ගනු ලබන ක්‍රියාමාර්ගයේ ඇමතිවරයා කවුද? එහෙම පාතාලේ තියාගෙන හිටියද කියන එක මේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුව දැනුවත් විය යුතුයි.
මේක ලංකාදීපේ දැකලා මං කව ලංකාදීප පත්‍රයෙන් හොයාගන්න කියලා කොහෙන්ද මේ තොරතුරු ආවේ? මොකද පොලිසිය කිව්වහම එතන පොලිසියේ නිල ප්‍රකාශයක් කියලා නැති අපි හොයාගෙන කියන්නම්.
Meanwhile, convening a media briefing today, MP Padma Udeshanta showed media several photographs of an individual who is allegedly involved in underworld activities accompanying Minister of Sustainable Development Minister Sarath Fonseca as part of his security detail at an event recently. Convening a media briefing today, Minister Field Marshal Sarath Fonseca said that the news item is a bogus allegation and it was done to fulfill a political agenda.
Me, because my pictures are also there, and accused some of the people from my electorate, and they had pointed the finger at them and said they are drug dealers and they are all doing illegal activities and they are underworld. I want to say that these people belong to the normal public in that area, but they are all doing politics with us, and their private character and their background is anyway immaterial to me. So this is a bogus allegation. The fact that Vimal Veeravansa took this matter up in the parliament with the same tone also indicates that without even trying to find out, go into details about the accuracy of this, it indicates that this man is on a political agenda. There is another journalist, most probably he is trying to connect this incident, interpret it in a different way, although my name is not there. He has said there is a minister with underworld bodyguards. I have 17 policemen providing security to me. There are 4 inspectors. There are 5 STF people. So therefore, I don't need underworld security for me. A couple of corrupt police officers are trying to trap people, get hold of innocent people, and most probably expecting favors from them, try to brand them as drug addicts or drug dealers, and harass them. What we expect from the media is not to stand by the corrupt police officers or some corrupt politician, but to stand by the people who are being victimized.
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, the Derana 24/7.
Minister of Finance and Mass Media Galle says the government expects to create around 100,000 entrepreneurs under the Enterprise Sri Lanka loan scheme. He revealed the plan speaking at an event to launch the scheme at Bank of Ceylon. A branch providing loan facilities under Enterprise Sri Lanka scheme was launched at the Bank of Ceylon head office under the patronage of Minister Mangala Samravira and Lakshman Kiriyalla.
විශේෂයෙන්ම රාජ්‍ය බැංකු තුල නව ණය දෙන ක්‍රම 100ක් විතර තියෙනවා. නමුත් මේ ණය ක්‍රම ගැන ජනතාවට අවබෝධයක් නැහැ. අන්න ඒ නිසා මේ එන්ටර්ප්‍රයිස් ශ්‍රී ලංකා වැඩසටහන අපේ මංගල සමරීර මුදල් අමාත්‍යතුමාගේ අදහසක් අනුව මේ ණය ක්‍රම ගැන ජනතාවට හඳුන්වා දීමට ආරම්භ කරපු ව්‍යාපාරයක්.
ඒ තරුණ තරුණයන් වැඩිහිටියන් සියල්ලටම මේ රටේ ආර්ථික දියුණුවට සම්බන්ධ වීමේ ක්‍රියාවලියක් හැටියටයි අපි එන්ටර්ප්‍රයිස් ශ්‍රී ලංකා වැඩසටහන දකින්නේ. අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා පළවෙනි අවුරුද්ද ඇතුලේ මේ රට තුල ව්‍යවසායකයන් අඩුම ගානේ ලක්ෂයක් නිර්මාණය කරන්න.
State Minister of Finance Ranil Wickremesinghe says that there is a room for a possible discussion of a formula for gas prices. Currently, gas sellers, mainly Litro and Laughs Gas, has requested from the government to increase prices of gas as per world market prices. Speaking exclusively to First at 9, he further said that the government at present has no plans for a gas price hike.
There has been a question as to whether we should have another formula for the price of gas. That's something that we could discuss. A question has been raised about the price of gas, whether there is going to be a revision that will be made in the immediate future. It's at present not under consideration. The other question that comes is when the prices of petrol and diesel go up, the prices of other goods and services which use petrol and diesel also go up. But when the prices of petrol and diesel go down, those producers and manufacturers don't put the prices of those goods and services down. This is a real issue. We must admit, however, that the Consumer Protection Authority needs to be strengthened. It needs to be strengthened to make sure that consumers are not exploited by producers and manufacturers. And therefore, we have already initiated a discussion with the Ministry of Trade, and we will be moving amendments to make sure that the authority is strengthened and those unscrupulous manufacturers and traders will be dealt with sternly.
Google has been fined a record 4.34 billion euros over Android. The European Commission said Google had used the mobile operating system to illegally cement its dominant position in general internet search. The firm's parent, Alphabet Inc., has been given 90 days to change its business practices or face further penalties of up to 5% of its average daily turnover. It represents the largest fine imposed by the regulator against a single firm. The European Commission first began scrutinizing Android in 2015 following a complaint by FairSearch, a trade group that originally included Microsoft, Nokia and Oracle among its members. At that point, Android has 64% share of Europe's handset market, which has since grown to 74%. Shares slipped today from their highest close in nearly 3 weeks recorded in the previous session as investors sold diversified and telecommunication shares. Foreign investors sold net equities worth 34.1 million rupees today, extending the year-to-date net foreign outflow to 2.7 billion rupees. The All-Share Price Index ended 0.31% weaker at 6,160.69. Let's now cross over to Ms. Fernando from the Colombo Stock Exchange for a detailed report.
The market capitalization at the end of the day was 2,884.87 billion rupees. Today's foreign purchases were 254.2 million rupees and foreign sales were 288.27 million rupees. There were 3 crossings today and the crossing turnover was 64.8 million rupees.
Following backlash from his own party after he defended Russia over claims of interference in the 2016 US presidential elections, US President Donald Trump said he misspoke in the joint news conference in Helsinki on Monday. Trump said that he had used the word would instead of the word wouldn't in the sentence, quote, "I don't see any reason why Russia would meddle in 2016 election," unquote. This allegedly misspoken sentence is the very reason why Donald Trump had been under a lot of pressure after his meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Finland. Since yesterday, US President Donald Trump has been trying to calm a storm over his failure to hold Russian President Vladimir Putin accountable for meddling in the 2016 US election. After his meeting with Putin in Finland on Monday, Trump stunned the world by replying to a journalist regarding the controversy surrounding the 2016 US election.
People came to me, Dan Coates came to me and some others. They said they think it's Russia. I have President Putin. He just said it's not Russia. I will say this, I don't see any reason why it would be, but I really do want to see the server.
These remarks by Donald Trump prompted immediate calls by some US lawmakers for tougher sanctions and other actions to punish Russia. Foreign media report that Republicans and Democrats alike were dumbfounded by Trump's remarks, as US and Russia have been long-term adversaries and choose to remain far apart on major issues. Following the political firestorm over his performance at the Helsinki News Conference, Trump said at a media briefing at the White House yesterday that he misspoke his words.
I actually went out and reviewed a clip of an answer that I gave, and I realized that there is a need for some clarification. It should have been obvious. I thought it would be obvious, but I would like to clarify just in case it wasn't. In a key sentence in my remarks, I said the word would instead of wouldn't. The sentence should have been, I don't see any reason why I wouldn't or why it wouldn't be Russia. So sort of a double negative. That probably clarifies things pretty good by itself.
The 12 boys and their football coach rescued from a flooded cave in Thailand left the hospital today to make their first public appearance at a nationally broadcast news conference in the northern province of Chiang Rai. They spoke about their ordeal for the very first time and described the moment when divers found them to be the moment of a miracle. The boys are due to be ordained as Buddhist monks for a short period of time, a tradition for males in Thailand who experienced a misfortune. The group was trapped in the Tham Luang caves for more than 2 weeks. They had planned to explore the cave complex for about an hour after soccer practice on June 23rd. But a rainy season downpour flooded the tunnels, trapping them. 2 British divers found them on the 2nd of July, squatting on a mound in a chamber several kilometers inside the complex. All were brought to safety by Thai Navy SEALs and a global team of cave diving experts.
You are watching Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Derana 24/7.
Well, Sri Lanka might lose one of its iconic cricket stadiums. The discussion is whether Sri Lanka would want the Galle Fort to have its World Heritage status or whether the Galle Stadium to host international cricket. UNESCO has informed the Sri Lankan government that the unauthorized construction of the Galle Fort has disrupted conservation work in the Galle Fort, and due to this situation, it is being removed from the World Heritage list. A special discussion was held at the Ministry of Cultural Affairs with the participation of the Department of Archaeology, Urban Development Authority, Sri Lanka Cricket and the Cricket Administration of the Galle District yesterday. The Secretary of the Ministry of Cultural Affairs, J.J. Ratnasiri, told us that it was discussed to remove the said unauthorized building without harming the fort. Meanwhile, the Mayor of Galle Urban Council, Priyantha Sahabandhu, stated that all buildings of the stadium were constructed with the approval of the Galle Urban Council. When we inquired, the Secretary of the Ministry of Sports, Kamal Padmasiri, said that the final decision to the issue will be taken by the Cabinet. A discussion on a possible new stadium in the area is also underway in case a decision has to be taken to remove the Galle International Stadium.
To my knowledge, this issue was sorted out maybe in 2008 or 2009, if I remember right, when we had a discussion at the Ministry in the stadium. If that is so, they would have, long ago, they would have put it in the danger list. The fact that they have not put it in the danger list means that there is no major, it's not a major issue now.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
Up next is a city-by-city forecast. And before we go, we'd like to take you to the Kothmale Reservoir and Dam. Kothmale Dam is a large hydroelectric and irrigation dam in Kothmale which generates power from 367 megawatt turbines, totaling the installed capacity to 201 megawatts, making it the second largest hydroelectric power station in Sri Lanka. We hope you enjoy these visuals and have a pleasant evening.
Bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.